Well, it's been about 2.5 weeks. Let's go see how the poll's doing. Checking the poll results. And no one's voted. Well, I guess since no one's voted, that means it's my turn to choose what we're doing. Again. You know, I haven't done a lot of spooky games, and what if I do that? Who's there?
Something spooky? Here's Johnny!
Dude, what are you doing in my studio? This is private. Get out of here.
Heard you wanted something spooky. Thought I'd whip this one out. Have fun.
So, where do I begin with this game? Hey, would you look at that? This game was made by Konami. These guys are known for some of the best games on the NES, like Contra and Gradius. They're even known for helping make the Metal Gear series. There's a really important detail about all these games, but I can't quite remember what it is. Nah, it's probably nothing. So as you can tell, this game falls under Metroidvania, so that means there's a lot of backtracking and map exploration to be done. Speaking of which, the map is phenomenal. I only ever once felt like I actually didn't know where I was going, and in the end it turned out okay for me because this game doesn't punish you for going out of order that much, even though you would have suspected it to. Here in this area, you need a necklace to get past this red water, otherwise your health will get drained a lot. I somehow managed to get past it, and even beat the boss, which was pretty challenging. Also, while exploring, you'll find a lot of different enemies that really help set up the atmosphere. But since there are so many of them, I thought it'd be a good idea to make a list of all the different baddies that you'll run into during your adventure.
Warning, the following list is so cancerous and toxic that you might end up with some of the following symptoms: Terminal 7 brain damage, Type 6 heart failure, implosive diarrhea, explosive diarrhea, and Ebola. Also, this list is for comedic purposes only, so do not fear for your life too much. I hope I didn't scare you. You have been warned.
Where are you? We're gonna need a bigger mirror.
What about now? It's time to rock with the biggity buck bumble.
That's a Class 5 full-roaming vapor. Disney's Brave. The Tingler!
Spooky, scary skeletons and shivers down your spine.
Spider-Man 3. O.P. The annoying guys from Disney's Hunchback. Batroc the Leaper. The Blob. Nice parry, old chap. Electric Boogaloo.
Hi, zombie.
Shrooms. Thing from the Addams Family. Scooby-Doo 2. Creature from the Black Lagoon. Disney's Robin Hood. Shadow over Innsmouth. Dark Phoenix. Five Nights at Freddy's. I love calamari. The National Children's Football League. It was a big rock. The Lion King 3. Modern Warfare. Coffin Drops. Doc Connors. Have you seen my? They're here. I am Groot. Hawk Girl. Earthworm Jim. Batra. Weighs more than a duck. Balrog. Lumiere. The Wolf. Kamakarus. Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island. Angry Steak. Christopher Walken. Brother Bear. Black Arachnia. Little Shop of Horrors. Farmer's Revenge. The Cluster. Clayface. Biolante. Herman Munster.
Put your head between your knees.
Dr. Grant, my dear Dr. Sattler, welcome to Jurassic Park.
And finally, the soundtrack, which I gotta say is probably some of the best music I've ever heard on the Game Boy. This feels so good. They really did outdo themselves. Wait a second. Konami. Hold on one sec. Man, I thought I was really on something there. So to give a few side notes on what the plot isn't the first game. It's probably like the third or so. Regardless, it's continuing after whichever one came before it. And now, without further ado, the opening to the game, voiced by me and a special guest. So I hope you guys enjoy.
It is the year 1830, at an old Austrian castle. From the worshippers of chaos rise the plea for the return of the Lord of Darkness.
We crave the presence of the embodiment of suffering, the ruler of darkness.
I have waited for this moment, to be awake again, to bask in the darkness and feel the moonlight within.
Count Dracula, I am honored to be in your presence.
Indeed, though I lack my full power.
We are preparing the rite to replenish your power.
Stop! You cannot be allowed to taint the world.
You. I remember. You were one of the vampire killers that sealed me. You've aged.
It is our duty to see you banished.
Amusing. To use my nemesis' life to return my power. I have no use for children. Begone.
Hugh! Nathan!
Master!
Father!
And that was pretty much it. So after falling down that hole, Hugh runs off to go find his father, rejecting any help from Nathan. But Nathan, being the hero he is, decides to reject the rejection and goes to find his master. Now when it comes to gameplay, the controls are probably the most important, but for now we're going to set them aside as we talk about some of the new stuff that was in the game. Firstly, the Metroidvania-style gameplay was a big change for the series as a whole. Now, I had never played a Castlevania game up until this point, and personally, I felt as though the change was a good idea. Being able to explore and play the game at my own pace really gave the game a sense of freedom. Another cool thing they added to the game was the magic abilities.
Heavy is pretty, princess!
Wow!
These were done through the use of different types of DSS cards, those being action and attribute. With there being 10 cards to unlock for each type, it gives you 100 different magic abilities you can use, so there's probably going to be one you like more than others. I was absolutely torn between which one was my favorite, but my two most used were the ability to heal myself and the ability to cut off half the damage taken. Both are useful when it comes to the harder sections of the game. Alright, almost done unlocking all these magic abilities. They've been pretty good so far, from elemental upgrades to explosives to even improvements to defense, luck, and strength. So I wonder what this one's going to be. Finally, the leveling up system. When you start the game, your character is given 4 different stats: strength, defense, intelligence, and luck, all of which can be improved as your level increases. but one thing I like about it is that the game isn't fully dependent upon it. Each of the previously mentioned stats can also be increased by acquiring different items, such as armor and other accessories, which really helps when it comes around to the bosses. Oh yeah, did I mention this game is hard? Probably should have said that earlier. Hey everybody, I'm the Digital Nugget, and today we're going to be talking about this hard game right here. It's called Castlevania Circle of the Moon. One of the most fun parts about the game is the challenge it provides. Every little enemy, from the weak skeletons all the way to the memorable bosses, are what make this game so challenging and fun. And speaking of the bosses, we'll get to those right after I give you a quick rundown of the controls. So, obviously, you move with D-pad, jump with A, and attack with B. And you can use the previously mentioned magic abilities by pressing L. And now on to the bosses. Just look at all these bosses. You got a creepy goat head, 2 zombie dragons, an iron golem, and Death himself. All of these bosses are amazing to fight, albeit they might be a little bit hard, but that's the fun of the game, figuring out how to beat them, and when the next one will come around. Aw yeah, time for the first boss. I know these bosses are supposed to be pretty hard, but I mean it's the beginning of the game. Who are they gonna put me up against? Cerberus? Or if you're ever having trouble with a boss, you can always use the foolproof strategy of turning yourself into a skeleton. So, after defeating all the bosses, you go on to fight Dracula, the first phase of which is pretty simple, and yes, there are 2 phases, more on that later. The first phase has him teleporting around the room, attacking you with different kinds of bats. After defeating his first phase, he then gains his true power, where you'll then have to follow him up to the roof for the second fight. In the second phase, he has a bunch of new attacks, and I'm dead. Okay, that's fine, I'll just try again. So as I was saying earlier, he has a bunch of different attacks. Each of these are represented by a different hand gesture and a flat— Come on! I was so close that time! That's fine. I'll just try again. So, after doing enough damage to him, he gains one last new attack or straight up chop. Did I mention this boss fight was hard? During the other boss fights, it was helpful to remember the different attack patterns. In this boss fight, it's absolutely necessary. When it comes to difficulty, think the other bosses, but they're hopped up on caffeine and have a bunch of razor blades attached to their body. If I had to describe this boss fight in one word, it would definitely be patience. But it's okay, I finally beat it. So the ending scene cuts to Morris, Nathan, and Hugh having a sentimental moment in front of a crumbling castle. Good. Roll credits. Castlevania Circle of the Moon was a big risk for not only Castlevania as a series, but for the Game Boy as well. With it being one of the launch titles, I feel as though the Game Boy and the Castlevania series were kind of dependent on each other to keep this game afloat. And I think they benefited from this risk in the end. So that's why I give this game my rating of a count, counting on the count to count counts, out of 10. There are a lot of different Castlevania games, just like there are a lot of different Draculas. There's bound to be one that fits your style, and Castlevania Circle of the Moon was mine. The presentation was absolutely beautiful, giving a great atmosphere. The plot was also amazing with some really good character development. I didn't get to talk about it as much, but one of my favorite parts of the game was Hugh. Often you'll see Hugh running into battle without a plan to try and prove himself to his father that he is in fact the successor. Only for Nathan it didn't show him up by beating the boss, making Hugh more jealous. So we head to the chapel to continue the story, and hey, look at that, Hugh actually beat us to the boss. Good job, Hugh. Wait a second, why are you looking at me like that? Yep, you saw it here. He swung his sword at me. This is probably one of my favorite boss fights. It lets you see what kind of character Hugh has become. Now it's time to duke it out and see who the true successor is. Also, spoiler, it's me. After the boss fight, Hugh becomes a lot more accepting of the choices his father made, leaving me to save our master. And finally, the gameplay was stupendous. With the large map and the great combat, with the ability to better your character without grinding being necessary, with an additional 4 different ways to play through the story, each with their own rewards, makes a game that'll be played for days on end, and a must-have for the Game Boy. So this has been DNR, and I want to give a big thanks to our guest, the real runner, who helped me with some of the voices.
Oh, it was no trouble at all. And I'm looking forward to helping you out again this October.
Wait, what?
Where now?
Hey gang, hope you enjoyed it. I'm sorry it took so long, but if you liked it, don't forget to mash that like button, share your support, and ring the little bell to be notified when I post more videos. Hopefully the next one won't take so long to get done, because I'm going to be continuing in my sub-special quadrilogy with the next 3 games on the list. So I hope you're looking forward to those. And as always, leave a comment down below, tell me what you want to see me do or play next time. Subscribe today to join the gang, and I'll see you nuggets in the next one.